Evening spooks, and welcome to my April wrap-up video. We're gonna change the scenery, okay? And let me just tell you for why. There is no real excitement. The office is just exactly the same as it was in my last video. But I never come in here. This is our dining room. Hi Mario. And it needs to be redecorated, hence why there's stuff stuck on the walls, hence why I have allowed myself to put masking tape on the walls. Could you give me a moment? Thank you. And I just never use this room, and I thought, you know what, it's quite tidy, maybe I should come in here and use it. So here I am. I feel harassed, sir. I feel like a newsreader. Am I giving off newsreader energy? Wait, I need to like shovel papers. I have no idea what to say. I thought I could think of a good line, but I have no idea. I don't watch the news. I don't wish to be depressed, thank you. So, let me get up my Goodreads so I can talk you through what I read this month. I will start off with a little disclaimer in saying that it is only the 26th of April today, and I am 70% of the way through God Killer. I have the book, but I have left it in the kitchen, and I worry if I move, I will lose my spot. So, God Killer, I am 70% of the way through, so close. And there's a chance that I may finish it this month, so we could be adding an extra. Also, so cute. I am, I think, also 70% of the way through 10 minutes, 38 seconds in a Strange World by Elif Shafak. Can you see that well? Thank you. Thank you for your input. So I could also finish that this month. But I am currently reading it. I will add a little clip into this video if I do end up finishing it, because obviously I'm not going to post this yet. I'm going to post it closer to the end of the month. But I'm getting it out of the way now because I've got some time, the dining room's clean, etc, etc. So this month so far, I've already read 7 books this month. So if my maths is correct, if I could finish God Killer and 10 minutes, not in 10 minutes, and the 10 minutes book, I would read 9 books this month. Wow, I've been on one. I thought this was quite a slow month for me, but perhaps not. Okay. This isn't working for me. It's messy. I've decided to reject Mario from the room and shut the door because he will be hard work. The second you sit down, that boy wants a lap. So I forgot about 2 books that I also read this month and left them upstairs. But I now have them. This is my stack of books that I read this month. I will get to the stack in a minute. First up, in the month of April, I read Starling House by Alex E. Harrow. I'm angling it so the light doesn't gleam off this plastic dust jacket, which, by the way, beautiful. I rated this 4 stars, and I really enjoyed this. Thoroughly enjoyed my time. And the story centers around a character called Opal. She is an orphan along with her little brother, and she will do anything to get her brother out of this horrible town where bad things just seem to happen all the time. So she is saving every penny she gets from her job to send him away to college. She is mesmerized by this tall, creepy house that is situated in their village. And one day she is just lingering by the gates of this house, just thinking and stuff, and she cuts herself on the gate. And the gate's like, okay, cool, thank you for your blood sacrifice, you are now mine. The owner of the house comes out and he's like, go away. Run away right now. Like a proper creepy, lives alone sort of type, you know? I'm not talking bachelor, I'm talking psychopath. Like, get off my lawn before I bury you in my garden sort of guy. Okay? So she's like, okay, I'll dip, see you later. But she can't leave this house alone. This house can't leave her alone. She dreams of it. She has nightmares about it. She's drawn to this house. And so she goes back. And he's like, what can I do to get rid of this girl? I'll offer her a job cleaning this house that is in disrepair. I mean, whatever you think is going to work, sir. But plot twist, it doesn't work. She starts to uncover lots of sinister and special things about this house, and this house is a sentient being. It's not just any haunted house. This house has feelings. This house feels, and I feel for this house. I didn't think I would ever fall in love with a house, but we are here, and I have. I love this house, and Opal does too, and she does not want to leave. She also happens to fall in love with Arthur Starling of Starling House, and a beautiful little romance ensues. I won't give you any more details in case you wish to pick this one up, but that is the gist. I haven't given you any spoilers. This is essentially what you can find if you just read it online. I really enjoyed this one. It was listed as a horror, and I wish it had a bit more horror to it. I found it was very fantastical and obviously a dark romance, but it could have done with a bit more spook because the premise was fantastic and I thought it was going to be spooky, but it wasn't, and that's fine. It is also listed as a gothic fantasy, and it is definitely a gothic fantasy, so it nailed that. I'd be really interested in picking up something else that Alex E. Harrow has written because their writing is really good. I'm not going to say fantastic because otherwise it'd be a 5-star, but really good. Next up in the month of April, I read No One Rises for Free by Judith Sonnet. And I rated this 2 stars. Now don't get me wrong, I'm not one of those reviewers where they have picked up an extreme horror and said, 1 star, this was so gross. I knew what I was getting myself in for. I picked up extreme horror expecting to be horrified, and to be fair, it's getting 2 stars because there was a point when I was like, if I want to eat my dinner in half an hour, I'm going to have to put this down and read it tomorrow. I needed a break because I was like, I feel a bit sick. And that is exactly what I would like from an extreme horror. So props to Judith for being disgusting. Or maybe not being disgusting. Judith, I don't mean you're disgusting. I mean, you can write disgusting things. However, the writing? Awful. Actually, inexcusably awful. There were so many spelling mistakes, and I just think if you have an editor, there should be no spelling mistakes. One here and there tend to slip through the net, even in books that are published by big publishers. You will see the odd spelling mistake because some things slip through the net. We are all human. However, this was inexcusable. There were so many grammatical errors, so many spelling mistakes. It was painful. And at the end of the book, there is an author's note in which Judith boasts about the fact that she set herself a challenge to write, edit, and publish this book in 10 days. She achieved this, but at what cost, Judith? At what cost? I can tell this was written and edited in 10 days because it is dire. And it is such a shame. What a waste, because this is visceral, this is gory, this is disgusting. The idea is very clever. It's so on brand for extreme horror, and I think it would be so successful and such a good read if she had just put a bit more time into writing it and getting someone to edit it properly. This could have easily been a 4 or 5-star read. The content was all there was just no finesse. You are a writer. I've looked at the reviews for this book, and I've looked at reviews for other books of hers. She gets high ratings, so I'm led to believe that it's just because she tried to rush this one, and that's why it's so poor. But the content was very good. It was exactly what I was looking for when I wanted to pick up an extreme horror, but can't forgive that writing. It's a 2-star for me. I will just briefly go through the premise without giving any details whatsoever. But essentially, a woman is taking her 2 children on a road trip, and they stop at a petrol station, and a man gets in without them knowing. He has a gun and threatens them and just tells her to drive. Most of the story is set at the side of the road where he tells them to pull over, and horror ensues. It does have a bit of revenge gore, which we like to read. But yeah, I can't say anything more about it because the writing was just terrible. Next up, I read Ruin and Rising by Leigh Bardugo. It is the 3rd book in the Shadow and Bone trilogy. Is it called the Shadow and Bone trilogy? The Grishaverse? It is the Shadow and Bone trilogy. Okay, cool. And I rated this 4 stars, and I was pleasantly surprised because I found Siege and Storm, the 2nd book, quite boring. I've already watched the TV series, so I roughly knew what was going to happen and what to expect, but that did not make it any less impactful. This was really good. I've heard a lot of people say this about Leigh Bardugo, but as her books progress, her writing just gets better and better. So let me just say I'm really excited to read The Familiar that's recently come out. And that is just so true for this, because even from Shadow and Bone, Siege and Storm, what is this called? Ruin and Rising, you can see the craft improving. And this was really interesting. I was hooked, even though I knew what was going to happen. So yeah, massive props to Leigh Bardugo. This was great, and I only really picked this up because I wanted to rush through the trilogy so I could read 6 of Crows. But I didn't rush it. I took my time and enjoyed it. What a plot twist. I don't think I can summarize what the entire Shadow and Bone trilogy is about. I'm just gonna hope that you already know. because I don't have the capacity to relay that information. Good though. Next up, I listened to Nothing Burns as Bright as You by Ashley Woodfolk, and I rated this a whopping 5 stars. This was beautiful. It's a novel in verse, and I think I've mentioned in previous videos before, I love that. I eat it up. It is basically like reading a novella, except you've got the length of a novel and the beauty of poetry. It's quick to read, it's punchy, every word has been selected, crafted, and yeah. The story follows 2 young women who fall in love with each other. They are best friends. It's a story around grief, coming of age, and friendship. I won't say anything else about the content because I think that because it's quite a quick read, I wouldn't want to ruin anything, but it packs a punch. Highly recommend. Next up, I read This Is Where We Talk Things Out by Caitlin Marceau. Again, this is a horror novella, so really short. I rated it 3 stars. And that's not because it was bad. It was actually very good, very well written, I thought, and the story was very interesting. It centers on a queer woman who leaves her partner behind to go and stay with her mum to try and repair their relationship following her father's death. And her mum is just not what she expects. That's all I'll really say, because I wouldn't want to ruin it if you do want to pick this up, and I do recommend you pick this up. The only reason why this was brought down to a 3 stars and a 4 stars was because I guessed the twist, and I'm not a twist guesser. I try to actively avoid guessing the twist, and honestly, I just don't think I pay enough attention because I rarely ever guess at the twist. This one I knew it was coming, which it was still shocking when I got to it because of the descriptions and because I couldn't believe I was right, but I did guess it, which is disappointing because I don't like getting the twists. I like to be surprised. It focuses heavily, obviously, on family trauma, on grief, on the mother and daughter relationships, the dynamics, narcissism, and it is just really powerful, very painful, and definitely worth a read. It was very quick. I think I read it in a couple of days, and I would really recommend it. Plus, it's queer, so we love the queer representation here. Next up, I read The Game by Diana Wynne Jones, and I was pleasantly surprised. I did rate this 3 stars, and I'm not sure whether I'm just in that rating, because this is aimed at children, and I am not a child. I'm not sure if you've noticed, I am a woman, I am an adult. So I tried to ignore the fact that it was written for children, because it is, and I'm not the intended audience. But I think this was really good. I was really interested in the story. It was so creative, and that doesn't surprise me because obviously this author wrote Howl's Moving Castle, which is one of my favourite movies of all time. I thought the book was a little bit pale in comparison to the movie, but still very good. And again, probably written for children, so that might be why. But essentially what this book is about is an orphan child that is passed between her family. She originally lives with her grandparents and is then shipped off to live with her aunties because she's difficult. We love a difficult girl. And her cousins all play this game. It's called The Game. The clue's in the title. And they go off and have these adventures in a mythosphere. So they travel to different lands. And I can't tell whether this is real, this is fantasy, or whether this is children's imaginations. But either way, the descriptions are fantastic. You feel like you were in a different world. And when I open up a book, I want to pretend I'm in a different world. And if that world is fantastical, even better. It also heavily draws on mythology, which I love mythology, so I was already hooked by that. And the girl basically just finds out a lot about her family. It's self-discovery. It's a really cozy, heartwarming, but slightly thrilling read. Like, there are stakes in it, so I was reading fast because I wanted to know what was going to happen. Yeah, I recommend if you fancy a cozy children's book. My final book that I read in April so far, unless I complete Godkiller and 10 minutes 38 seconds in the Strange World, was The Hollow Places by T. Kingfisher. If you saw my latest wrap-up video where I talked about T. Kingfisher's What Feasts at Night, I cannot say their name, you will see that I was so unbelievably disappointed by that book. This restored my faith. I never lost my faith, actually, let's be honest. Kingfisher can do no wrong for me, except for that one book. I knew that it was just that one book, and if I picked up something else, I would enjoy it. And this did not let me down. I rated this a 4 stars, and I think there was just maybe a part in the middle where I was getting a little bit bored. The reason why is because a lot of the story centers on one character, and she takes a tumble through a portal in her uncle's weird museum and lands in a horrifying world. And that was amazing. So well written. Hooked. Honestly hooked. However, Partway through the book, she then returns home. She manages to get back home, and then there is a section in the middle where she is just speculating on what happened and what this could all mean and how this has happened. And I found that bit a little bit boring, just because I wish she had somebody else to bounce off. And frustratingly, there is a side character in the book, and it is her neighbour. He is hilarious, and I just think that having him in this section of speculation would have made it so much more interesting, because they could bounce ideas off each other. It would still be kind of humorous. Kingfisher has such a great way of writing dialogue where it is funny even though the stakes are so high. They can be in a horrifying situation and I'm still laughing, and I just think that bit was missed. And I know you can't have the side character there all the time, but I wish he was. To be fair, the main character was great herself. I just didn't quite enjoy her inner monologue. But nevertheless, it was a 4-star read. Kingfisher is so creative anyway, and surprisingly, I saw an advert for a film coming soon called The Watchers, and it's a horror. It's an M. Night Shyamalan horror. And it looked so similar. To start with, it looked so similar. The main character tumbles through a portal and is led into a horrifying different land. And I was like, is this you? But it wasn't, unfortunately. It is not based on the book. And as I watched the advert more, I realised it's not that similar. But the start bit was, okay? And I was really excited. Either way, really loved this one, and I'm definitely going to pick up another Kingfisher book in the near future. Just won't be What Feasts at Night. Also, in the month of April, I did reread The Bees by Caroline Duffy. It's part of my Poetry Jar TBR, and I really enjoyed it. The pause was not because I didn't really enjoy it. I did love it. I've already read it once before, and she's fantastic at writing poetry. So I knew it was going to be a hit, but I think I'm going to cease doing the Poetry TBR jar just for a little while, because I found it a bit of a drag picking it up every day. So I'm going to exclude that from my TBR game, just until I fancy reading poetry, and then I'll pick one at random. So I will continue with the TBR jar, it just won't be a monthly thing. So to summarise, because not only did I complete my TBR game this month, I also completed G's Magical Readathon. G has a channel called Book Roast, and she hosts a Magical Readathon in April and August of each year, and it is an absolutely incredible piece of work. It blows my mind how much work she puts into this, and it's a joy to complete each year. I started last 2022, maybe I started in 2020, no I didn't, that's a lie. I started in 2023, I completed April, I completed August, and again I've completed April 2024. And to summarise, for my TBR jar I had a wildcard and also needed to read a book with game in the title for my Magical Readathon. So the game was for both of those prompts. One of my TBR game prompts was to read a book with less than 3-star rating. It won't shock you that No One Rides for Free was less than 3 stars. It doesn't shock me either. The next TBR game prompt I had was an animal or a creature on the cover, and that's why I read Rune and Rising, because it has the Firebird on the cover. My final TBR prompt was a book that was less than 250 pages, and I also tied this in with the Magical Readathon prompt where I had to put 3 titles in a hat and pick one out at random, and that's where This Is Where We Work Things Out, This is where we talk things out, won. So I read that for those. And finally, I had to do a prediction bingo for my Magical Readathon prompt, and that's when I chose Starling House. And let me just recap for you. Okay, hi, I'm back. So I did prediction bingo for Starling House, and let me recap to you the 4, 8, 12, 16, was that good maths? Who knows? Bingo items that I picked. By the way, I let Mario back in because he's doing my head in. So my choices were House Breathes, Something Hidden in the House, A Dark Romance, The Lights Flicker, Ominous Birds, Stormy Weather, A Tragic Past, Nightmares, Woodland, Long Winding Roads, Some Dodgy Locals, Creaky Floorboards, A Mention of the Moon, Crickets, Shadows, and Deep Breaths. Now I'll be honest, I forgot I was doing this most of the time I was reading this, but I did pick up on quite a few prompts. So let me roll some clips of me reading Starling House, and then I'll recap what I found at the end. Okay, thank you, bye. Would we say this counts as flickering lights? Not sure I can count. That does sound like Ominous Birds though. Wait, Milo, please, give us some space. Where was it? He felt them circling and watching. This is Ominous Birds, I swear it. I'm counting that. Can you give your tail? The circling and watching was a false alarm. It was you quieten down back there?
It was people, not birds.
Damn it.
Protecting his stupid secrets sounds like the start of a dark romance to me.
Hi, welcome back. There's a tail in my face. So, the house breathes was the most frustrating prompt because the house did literally everything but breathe. It sighed, it groaned, but did it breathe? No, it did not. So that one was a no. Something hidden in the house? Yes, there was. I won't give any spoilers in detail, but there was a room hidden in the house. Dark romance? For sure. That was definitely involved. Lights flicker. I didn't cross this off, and that shocks me because I'm sure at some point the lights will have flickered. But fine, I didn't tick it off. No lights flickering. Ominous birds. There were so many starlings mentioned. Do you have to do that here? Naturally, because it's called Starling House, but I don't think they were being ominous. So I think that one's a no. Stormy weather. I don't recall there being any stormy weather. Tragic past. Yes, Arthur Starling has a tragic past, and so does Olaf. Oh my god. So does Opal. That's terrible. Nightmares, definitely. That's what drew Opal to the house. Woodland and long roads, I don't think there were any mention. It's annoying because there was definitely a lot of driving, but I think they are in a town, so it wasn't really country where there would be woodland and long roads. Annoying. Dodgy locals, I think the locals were quite nice. They were suspicious of her though. Does that make them dodgy? Like the police officer was very suspicious of her. He thought she was a wrong-un. You're the wrong-un, sir. I'm going to call him dodgy just because I want to win. I still don't think that's going to make me win though. Creaky floorboards, yes there was. This house creaked and groaned, as I said, a lot. And sighed, but didn't breathe. Moon mention, I haven't ticked this off and I can't remember any mentions of the moon, and that shocks me because a lot of this took place at night and I'm sure there'd be some mention of the moon, but I can't tick it. There were, however, mentions of crickets, so crickets is ticked off. I haven't ticked off shadows, and again, I'm dubious because I bet there were shadows mentioned, but fine. And deep breaths. Yes, there were a lot of deep breaths. Did you just hear that bang? I heard that bang. There was a lot of anger and passion and emotion, and so they would often be taking deep breaths before they spoke. That does mean, however, that I have not completed bingo. I quit! Okay. So that is all the books that I read so far. I will insert a clip right now if I read Godkiller and 10 minutes 38 seconds in The Strange World. Did I remember all that correct? I will include that clip now if I also manage to read those in April. So, did I go anywhere? If I didn't go anywhere, then I obviously didn't finish them. But if I did, cool, well done me. In that case, I would have read either 7 or 9 books this month, and it's been a really good month. I've read some very good books. Also read some disappointing ones. I can't believe that No One Rides for Free was even in this month. I felt like I read that ages ago. This has been a long month, but I'm very excited to see what May brings, and I hope it brings some 5-star reads. I would like another 5-star. Would love a 5-star fantasy. Or a 5-star horror. I think I'm overdue a 5-star horror. The Hollow Places was so close. But not quite. Anyway, thank you so much for joining me. I hope you enjoyed my weird new atmosphere of being a news reader. News reporter? I'm reporting my reading. I guess I'm doing both, a news reporter reader. Anyway, as always, if you have any recommendations for horror books, for witchy books, for extreme horror books that don't suck, drop them in the comments down below. Like and subscribe if you haven't already, if you enjoy the content that I put out. And thank you so much for joining me, and I'll catch you in a video very, very soon. Bye!
Let me show you a place.